Good morning and welcome to the next Center for Business Growth and Innovation webinar. Today we're going to be talking about Facebook paid reach. We just got it started, so everybody's still signing in here this morning, but we're glad to have you with us today. We're going to be continuing our series on marketing as we're going to be looking at, again, at Facebook and how we can look at some of the paid reach components. My name is Patrick Linsman. I am Senior Program Manager at the Center for Business Growth and Innovation at the University of Northern Iowa. I work with a team that works all across the state on supporting small businesses through startup, up through growing, all the way to their time to transition. And we do that work through our IA SourceLink platform. Joining me today to do our presentation is Sophie Troxel. Sophie is a recent graduate from UNI with a major in strategic public relations and has worked with me for 2.5 years now and is an expert in pretty much all things digital marketing. So we're excited to have her here with us today. And in the background, if you came last week, you'll see we've got Sammy Schupanitz here to support us answering questions. If you missed our webinar last week, the recording is up and available on YouTube, and we'll post that link in the chat for you to find here in just a couple minutes. So quick housekeeping things, and then we will dive right in with Sophie. First, if you have questions, please enter them into the Q&A box. We will do our best throughout the presentation to answer them. If they're super specific, we'll definitely try to follow up with you and answer them offline or after the presentation. This presentation is also being recorded and will be available both on IA SourceLink, the CBGI website, and YouTube after the presentation. And the slides, I will also post the link to download those in the chat. So we're happy to have you here with us. I think that covers all of my part. So Sophie, take it away.
Thanks for the introduction, Patrick. With that being said, I hope you all have had your coffee or tea and are ready to dive into paid reach with Facebook. So let's get into it. First of all, I think using paid reach is incredibly useful to small business owners for 2 reasons. The first being audience targeting. The targeting tools offered allow you to micro-target your audience to a T. And the second reason has to be the cost of advertising with Facebook, because with just a little bit of cash, you can produce a lot of results. So before we begin, one of the first things I want to clear up is the difference between boosting a post and creating a Facebook ad. Some of you may have seen the option to boost a post appear on your business page. And if you haven't seen this, you will see it when you go to create an ad. Although boosting is a form of paid advertising, the main difference is that boosting a post is where you would use a post that has already been published, and this differs from a Facebook ad where you're starting from scratch and creating a brand new piece of content. So when it comes to boosting and creating ads, one isn't necessarily better than the other. It just depends on what you're looking for. And in my opinion, boosting is just a really simple way to advertise on Facebook, whereas creating a Facebook ad is a little bit more complex, but we're going to walk you through both today. Let's begin with boosting a post. This can be done in the Ad Center, which you will see when we get more into Facebook ads. When boosting, you will want to choose a post that has already been performing pretty well. And as you work through your post, Facebook will let you set your target audience, how long your post will be boosted, and how much time you want to spend. Your audience options are a little bit different when boosting, and the options are targeting people who like your page, people who like your page and their friends, and people in your area. And with that, you can also choose a custom audience, which we'll get more into later. But one of the things I will say is that using the custom audience feature when boosting is not nearly as detailed as it is when running ads. And it only lets you choose between a couple of demographics like age and gender. Also, boosted posts will only appear in the newsfeed and on Instagram, whereas Facebook ads offer a variety of different placements. So as well as boosting a post, you can also choose to boost an event. And just like boosting a post, you have the same options for targeting. Boosting is just a quick and easy way to gain exposure for an event. And I know we haven't had much human contact lately, but if your event happens to be in person, choosing the option of targeting people in your area can be really, really beneficial. If you find yourself unable to boost a particular post, here's kind of how you can troubleshoot. And I've pulled this straight from the Facebook Business Help Center. So just to walk you through it, you can start by going to your page, finding the post, and then hovering over the Boost Unavailable button. You can match the tip to one of the reasons below, and the tip should just pop up once you hover over the button. And I've pulled a couple up for example, but there are a bunch on the Help Center for different troubleshooting reasons. So now that we've covered boosting, let's talk about creating your ad. You'll need to start by going to Ad Center, which you can access in a couple of ways. You can either click Ad Center in the left menu bar of your Facebook business page or type facebook.com/ads into the search bar. And once you've reached Ads Manager, you can begin to create your ad. Start by clicking Create Ad, and you will be brought to a page where you can then choose a goal for your ad. I've attached a snippet of what you will see once you click Create Ad. And a tip I'd like to share as you choose your goal is to ask yourself, what is the most important outcome I want to achieve from this ad that I'm sending out? This question is so foundational to your ad as it really represents the results that your ad will give you from Facebook advertising, because although it is low cost, it's still time and money that you're spending. And as a small business owner, I know that's usually coming out of pocket. So it's very important to take the time. Now, I'd like to spend some time breaking down each of the goals to give you a better picture of how each may suit your business. When choosing the goal, get more leads, Facebook will use a contact form that viewers can fill out. You can also customize your contact form and decide the information you'd like to ask for. As you can see, the options are pretty straightforward, like name, phone number, and email, but you can also click the drop-down menu and add info to the form like address, birthday, and job title. Pretty much just depends what you're looking for. You can also add a short answer question, which I've put on the right. So for example, if your organization is a local farmers market looking for leads on potential vendors, you could ask something like, what kind of local product or service do you offer with that? When choosing the goal, get more messages, your ad will be shown information about your organization, and there will be a send message button where viewers can click and see a pop-up of Messenger where they can directly send you a message. So that one is pretty simple, but it's just a great way to have a personal interaction with a potential customer. And if you choose the goal, promote your page, your ad should be geared towards bringing awareness to your organization, as people who see this ad will have the option to like your page by clicking the like button in the right bottom hand corner of your ad. And that will really amp up your followers. So that's a great option if you're just wanting to gain some exposure. Facebook won't give you a lot of room when it comes to copy for your ad, so you want to use a couple of compelling statements that give viewers a taste of what your organization is and why they should hit the like button to stay informed. Choosing a goal, once again, is just a great way to build a following. Similar to the goal, get more messages, get more calls, will direct users to a button that says call now. This particular goal is great for organizations who offer services and do bookings over the phone. So if you choose to use this goal, make sure you have a plan. So when you get a couple of calls, you're converting the leads you're receiving from Facebook directly into customers. For example, one of our programs, the Panther Biz HQ, which offers marketing assistance to small business owners, could use this goal to advertise offering free consultations. So when somebody calls inquiring for a free consultation, you really want to do everything you can to schedule a time for them, as the money that you put into this ad was spent on generating that lead. Another thing I'd like to note is please be sure you have the correct phone number listed. When choosing the goal, promote your business locally, your ad will be geared towards bringing people into your business. This is great for local businesses, but may not be the best option for the time being. since many are hesitant to brick and mortar storefronts during this time, but that really is just dependent on your community. When you select this goal, your ad will include a button that says Get Directions so viewers can be led directly to your business. And just as having the correct phone number, make sure you have the proper address when promoting your business locally so people can find you. Last but not least, you can choose the goal of getting more website visitors. If you are seeking website traffic rather than traffic to your Facebook page, this is a great option because with one click, viewers can be taken directly to your website. And as for button options, there are a ton to choose from, which I've listed here. One great thing about this goal is that you can also show multiple images in what Facebook coined as the carousel format, basically meaning viewers can scroll through multiple images. This is great if you have products you'd like to advertise because you can showcase them in the carousel available with this goals formatting, because all of the different goals have a variety of different formatting options. So you should pay attention to what your options are when you're choosing your goal. When you use this goal in particular, it's really important to send viewers to the right location known as your landing page. So if you're advertising a product, you should choose the link to the landing page where someone can purchase the product and not just to the homepage of your website. Once you've decided on your goal, you can begin to choose who you want your ad to reach, known as audience targeting. This is really where having a solid understanding of your audience will put you a few steps further than the rest. As I mentioned before, one of the best parts of paid advertising with Facebook is that it allows you to micro-target your audience based on 4 demographic characteristics, which are age, location, interests, and behaviors. So what we're going to be talking about today can be found by clicking the little pen icon next to audience details. And you can see that in the graphic on the right.
So, Sophie, before we dive too far into the audience, too, as people are looking at those goals, hopefully you saw through all the screenshots, it's really changing that call to action, and really trying to drive that, directed interaction. Can you talk a little bit about, as they're trying to think through some of those goals, maybe some things they seem pretty self-explanatory, but maybe a few things that they would maybe want to keep in mind, because there's a lot of options to pick for goals. Any thoughts on maybe the way to just parse them maybe a little bit more?
Yeah, definitely. I would say just take some time to go over all of the different goals and see what each format has to offer. You'll also see that the options for the buttons are different. So, like I mentioned with the example for the Panther Biz HQ, they would want to have the button be call now if they're advertising free consultations because somebody would call them up and right away that might be the easiest way to be reached. If you're offering a product, you might want to use the button of um, shop now because you can use the landing page to take your customers directly to the point where they can purchase your product. So it really just depends on what your goal is, and then if that goal follows the right structure, and if it lets you use the right button, because the button means it's basically the call to action. So what action do you want your customers to take, and is this button going to lead them to the right action?
Yeah, so we're definitely looking for those, directed ways to go about it. And I think with, what we're trying to accomplish, well, with our presentation today, and as Sophie's going through it, there's lots of ways you can customize and really make them work for you. And that's going to change as we're going to about go through audiences, how to find those people. That's going to change cost. So like we had a question in there, how much does it cost to advertise on Facebook? I mean, you could spend $5, you could spend 5,000, you could spend 50,000. I mean, the the ranges are crazy. We're going to get into that a little bit towards the end as we look at as we're building the ad. It's going to tell us, an average of cost per click or cost per impression, or I guess it's Facebook calls it cost per reach. So I think what we want to really show you is the basics of what it is that you're putting together, how you can put it together, and then um, it's definitely a complex system. So we're gonna, as we dive into the audience thing, if you have questions, please put them in that Q&A box, and we'll do our best to answer them. So
Yeah, great question. So here you'll see that you can choose between a couple of basic audience characteristics like age and gender, and this is just kind of piggybacking off of that last slide where I talked about audience targeting. And in terms of location, when you're thinking about location-based targeting, think about where your ideal customer lives. And what's so great about Facebook is that you can go as big as an entire country or as small as a specific zip code, and you can mix and match. So if you want to target this 50613 zip code in Waterloo and Cedar Falls, you can also choose to target the state of Chicago or state of Illinois or Minnesota. So you can do a lot of different things with location-based targeting. If you search for the area code 50312, which is in Des Moines, Facebook will include people who live within that specific postal code to Des Moines, but you don't have to stop there, which we kind of just touched over. So now let's move on to demographic-based targeting. When you create an ad, I strongly recommend clicking Browse next to detailed targeting because it will open up so many more possibilities. And one tip I have when targeting your audience is take the time to do it well. The more you refine your audience, the more meaningful your ads will be. Ideally, you want each person who sees your ad to take action, so make sure it's coming across to the right viewers. And here, this just shows some of the more in-depth ways you can take that. So you can search for education level, a specific school, field of study. You can check if somebody is still in their undergrad years. And this just kind of depends on the graphic that was shown before that really digs deeper into demographics. And you can also do income. So household income. You can choose top 10% of zip codes, top 10 to 25, top 25 to 50, and also top 5% of zip codes. So that's pretty cool. Life events, you can choose anniversaries, if somebody is away from their family, away from their hometown. And this is just kind of to explain how detailed you can get with this. You can choose if somebody is having an upcoming birthday. You can choose if somebody is a friend of a man with a birthday in 0 to 7 days, and it just goes on and on. So if someone's in a long distance relationship, if they've just started a new job, newly engaged, newlywed, recently moved, and then also parents. That could be a great demographic to target for a lot of different businesses. You can do all parents, parents with preteens, parents with teenagers, parents with toddlers. So there are a lot of things to choose from. So once again, I would recommend kind of just looking through all of your options before you start targeting so you can kind of familiarize yourself with the options that are out there.
So one of these things, and we're going to keep going through them, and you're going to see, I think the question, and I'm sure people here have noticed, there's a lot of really detailed stuff here on people and their lives. Uh, how does Facebook know that you're going to be getting to those people that you want to be targeting?
Yeah, I did some research and I saw that for location, it was really interesting because there's an option for targeting somebody who lives in the location that of your choice, and they use the IP address of your computer because when you log on Facebook, you're using the internet and it records the IP address. I know what was it? There were a couple more. Oh, so if you put your status on Facebook as in a complicated relationship, it's going to appear on the targeting options. So you could target somebody who's in a complicated relationship, or if somebody who has recently gotten divorced. You could also, I mean, if you're a small business that does a dating site, that would be a perfect demographic to target, somebody who's recently divorced, recently engaged. If you sell wedding rings, jewelry, or even like have a bridal boutique, that would be an awesome thing to use. So there really is something for everyone and something for every business. But yeah, it is a little bit weird how they kind of know all this information about us, but I think a lot of it comes from the information that we put out there, and maybe we don't even know that we're putting out there.
I think that's the big part of it, is that so most of these things, as you as we flip through them, as Sophie mentioned, they should look familiar as different fields that Facebook encourages you to fill out on your profile, especially relationship statuses, education level. Lots of people are quick to list their major or field of study or high school. Parents that are posting about their kids or anything like that. And not only does Facebook have that information from things you post on Facebook, but then also they're able to collect information from your shopping habits, as they can track you through some pixel tracking as you're out shopping or doing those different things. So if you're ever out on a website shopping for a product, and then the next time you're on Facebook, you happen to get served with an ad for a similar product, that is what these retargeting and targeting ads allow you to do, as it keeps track of you through both those fun cookies from that site itself, but then also Facebook has a bit of a tracker. Like if you're signed into your Facebook as you're out doing a lot of these things, it is collecting that data on you. I mean, Facebook's probably listening to me right now and probably not wanting me to share that, but that's where a lot of the information comes from. So as a business owner that's looking to do this advertising and find the right people, it is definitely a very powerful tool that can really help you hone in on that audience and hit them with the message that you want. But as we go through it, know that that is something that can be pretty engaging.
Definitely. So a couple more: work, industry, employers, job. You can search by a specific job title. Again, that's something that I know I have my communications assistant job title on my Facebook page. So you guys could definitely target me. And then let's move into interest-based targeting. And I mean, there are so many options here. We could spend an entire webinar just looking at all of the categories under each of the drop-down menus. But with interest-based targeting, I would like to use the "but no one else would" rule of thumb. For example, if you are trying to reach an audience of golfers, choosing Tiger Woods as an interest would be a big mistake because he's so popular that even non-golfers may be fans. Bubba Watson, on the other hand, is a far better choice for this because only serious golf enthusiasts would know him and like him. So really trying to refine the different interests that you have to choose from. And interests, as well as all these categories, you're not stuck with the options that Facebook gives you because you can always search for something else. There's going to be a search bar up there and you can search for something if you might not see it. I know I use the search bar. It's right above the demographics, interests, behaviors, and more categories. So it's really nice to be able to customize to a T. And when targeting behaviors, you can target people by purchase history, mobile use, and even target somebody who has recently searched for your product, which we kind of just talked about. And once again, if you've ever searched for something and 10 seconds later logged on to Facebook and got hit with ads for the product you just looked at, that is a prime example of behavior-based advertising. And once again, there are so many options, and I wish we had time to go through each of them, but there really is something for everyone. So once again, spend a little bit of time looking through each of these categories under demographics, interests, and behaviors before you plan to create an ad, just to get a better sense. Something I think is really cool along the way, Facebook will estimate how many people your ad has the capability to reach based on the audience characteristics you've selected. If you go through audience targeting and see a really high number, you might want to refine your audience, if it's in the millions. But I say this because if it's too high, your ad might not get approved. But once you start to refine, you'll see that go down. So I think I did some just basic targeting, and the audience was up to 1.1, and that seems like a pretty solid amount. And I think it was a number that also accurately reflected what I was looking for. So that's great.
So we're going to take a minute here to answer or try to answer a few questions. And Sammy, who is helping us in the background, is also going to be trying to answer some of your questions through text. We'll repost the links into the chat. You're not able to chat to us through the chat, but you should be able to grab the links out of there, copy and paste them to be able to find what we're looking for. So first, Ellen asked, how do you figure out the interests in our ideal client? So they're in the wedding industry, so they can put in like a bridal guide, but what are some things to do to look at maybe some of their actual interests?
Well, one thing that I've learned is to go to your competitors' pages and look at what their audience is searching for, what their audience likes. I mean, you could spend a lot of time on it, or you could spend a little bit of time on it, but find out who likes their page and then just scroll through what they've liked on Facebook and see if you notice any patterns as you continue.
And I think to Ellen, to your point, part of it would be is you're working with your clients as they're in your store to do some of the what we would call customer discovery, and talk to them and learn about some of the other things that they are interested in. Because Facebook itself isn't going to lead you to that answer, but your customers hopefully will. And you can look at, um, again, like Sophie just mentioned, you could get really deep into a lot of these targeting things with looking at someone who like just flipped their status to engaged, right? What types of things do you need to serve females that are just engaged, shortly after their status changed versus, someone who's been engaged for 6 months or, about to be married. You won't necessarily know when they're going to be married, so it's more about time since they were engaged. That you could really get into looking at some of those other interests, where they're searching, what they're doing. Part of that would be like, so outside of depending on what you offer, some of the behavior-based things, if they're out there, everyone starts to go out and they do Google searches for like wedding websites. They go try to find a place now to build their wedding website. If you can target people that are doing that, I think there's some room for you to talk to your clients as they come to you and understand, and you probably know, you just maybe haven't thought about it this way, some of those other things that they're searching for after they're engaged that would potentially you could use to serve them up with some ads on your business that would resonate and have them at least check you out and reach out and do that. One thing, and Sophie's mentioned it a couple times, we do have a program that you and I, Panther Busy HQ, will talk about later, that if there are some of these really specific questions we want to dive into deeper, and maybe you want our help putting together some audiences or doing some targeting, we'd be happy to help you do that and follow up with you there. So let's see, other questions we've got. So we're going to look at some of the analytics and the costs here towards the end. So Sean asked, when we were looking at the goals, do you feel that any of these goals work better for business to business versus a business to consumer type of advertising? They're strictly a business to business company and are looking and are finding it hard to contact or connect with those companies. Any thoughts on business to business versus business to consumer that you want to share? And then I've got a few that I can toss in there too.
I feel like I don't have the different goals memorized, and if once you all get on Facebook Ad Center and really go through them, you'll notice that there are a lot of variations between the different goals and the different kind of content you can put in there, and even if you can use a button. So I think it's really up to you and even what type of business you're looking to advertise to.
Yeah, and I think to maybe take that a step further, in again, my opinion, we'd love to look at it deeper. Um, Facebook is heavily business to consumer. They collect and follow data from businesses, from consumers, far more than they do businesses. And as far as I know, you while you can get served ads as you know when you're on your business page, those typically are more centered around which personal account you're signed into, since you have to be in a personal account to manage your business page. So as you're looking through your business pages feed, you'll see sponsored things from pages you follow. But as far as I know, right now, which I don't know everything, but looking through those goals, there aren't a ton that are specifically towards those those business contacts like you were mentioning, Sean. So, I mean, I think in our opinion, it's not impossible, but as um, businesses don't have the same personality as a consumer, so there's less data to be able to connect and serve them up to, and we don't know who's running their business Facebook page. So if you need a CEO for a small company might be active on their Facebook page, but it might be their marketing person or an intern or a third party agency. Um, and so then the message might not resonate. So I think that's some of the things that we've seen um, in terms of trying to connect with businesses. Um, so I think with that, one more question, then we'll move on. So Paul asked, it sounds like the location-based targeting is good, that you could exclude regions from outside your um, service area. So if your service area attracts people from outside the region, is it possible to layer a regional target and a keyword search, for example, Iowa vacation, to attract a larger audience? So I can just take this one. So yes, you'd be able to, between a mixture of behavior, demographic targeting for people who are doing searches for vacation, Iowa vacation, you'd be able to lay that on top of a geography, either further out from you or close to you, that you'd then be able to drive traffic based on their behaviors in their keyword searching on top of their geography. So yeah, that is that is definitely possible. So I do see we have a few other questions in here, so we will able to we'll be able to get to those later, but we want to keep Sophie going. So Sophie, go ahead and let's talk through some of these ad placements.
All right. Yeah, on to ad placements. So this is basically choosing where you'll want your ad to run. We recommend selecting all three because Facebook will pretty much make a quick decision based on where your targeted audience is looking at any given time. And that's more than us humans can do. I thought I would share a couple graphics as well. So the bottom one shows all of the possibilities for your ad, and the graphic in the top left shows something that I took a screenshot of from my computer. And this is an ad that appeared on the right-hand column, specifically the sweatshirt. I did end up purchasing the sweatshirt, so Facebook ads, they do work. And that was a great example of an ad that use the goal of link clicks because when I clicked on that, it took me directly to the checkout so I could place my order right away.
So yeah, on this one, can you just talk through those graphics at the bottom and maybe a little bit about where
Yeah.
each of those are?
Yes. So if you're on when all of you open up your Facebook, you're hit with your news feed. So that's where your friends can post, and you'll also see a lot of ads on your news feed. So the first one, which is right here in the green, that would be an ad that you would scroll past, just like you would scroll past a post that your grandma might have posted. And then the same goes for Instagram. So when you're on Instagram, you can look through photos, and the ad that would appear on the Instagram feed would look similar to the Facebook newsfeed ad, but it's going to be more visual and less heavy on the copy. So those are pretty similar. Facebook Marketplace ads, they will appear on Marketplace, and I know that I've seen a lot of ads on Marketplace. It just depends on what kind of formatting you're looking for because it'll look a little bit different. All of these will look a little bit different, but Facebook video feeds. So when you're looking at I believe it's called Facebook Watch. This type of ad will appear in the Facebook Watch. And just to reiterate, this is pretty much Facebook does a great job of picking where your ideal customer will be. So, say you have 90% of people watching videos right now, it's going to put that ad on the Facebook video feed. And then the Facebook right hand column, like I just mentioned, the two ads that I took a screenshot of from my personal page above, those are ads that appeared in the Facebook right hand column. And then on Instagram Explore, Instagram has a feature where you can scroll through people you might not follow but have a lot of really popular content. So you might see an ad on Instagram Explore. And then Messenger Inbox, you might see an ad in your Messenger. Your Messenger. So when you're going to send a message to a business, oh, I'm sorry. When you're going to send a message to a business or to a friend, the Messenger Inbox ad will appear there.
Hmm. Yeah, so as you're looking at your Facebook, maybe from your phone, those icons across the bottom sort of really do correspond with the places that they can place your ads. So your news feed, marketplace, and video feeds are all like main scrolling areas of Facebook that people can access, and so you can serve ads in any of those spaces.
Yeah, and you'll also see, I think I can see it on the Messenger Inbox ad. If you look at that little blue one to the right, you can see the button where it says learn more. So you'll just have to see which goal is best for you and then what options they have, and also take a look at the placements. But we do recommend Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger just that your ad can have the highest opportunity to be seen by your ideal customer.
If you don't have an Instagram page, does that matter?
It does not. You don't personally have to have an Instagram page, but Facebook purchased Instagram and they now put their ads on Instagram as well. So just because you might not have one doesn't mean that your customer might not have one. A lot of your customers probably will have Instagram, so having that as an option is a really nice feature of placements. All right, on to budgeting. Using a daily budget will let you set how much you want to spend each day. You'll also set how long you want your ad to run, known as the ad duration. And one thing I've learned is that 4 or more days is proven by Facebook to bring better results. So when you create your ad budgeting and the duration, we definitely suggest using 4 or more days. And of course, you don't have to have the highest ad spend. If you prefer to lower the ad spend so you can have more days, that's a great option as well. Um, I wanted to share this graphic with you because depending on how much you're willing to spend, you'll see an estimate of your reach at the bottom, which you can see is the estimated reach for 5 days with $5 a day is 370 to 1.1 thousand people reached per day. And then here you can see that the estimated reach has increased as I doubled the daily spend, but kept the same 5-day duration. But once again, this is all up to you. And just by doubling the daily spend to $10, it increased to 2,000 people per day. And then just for fun, you could even start with $1 a day and still expect to see results, as running a $5 ad could reach up to 500 people, and $5 as in $1 a day for 5 days. So how will Facebook spend your money? This is a pretty hot topic right now. It's pretty straightforward. Like I mentioned before, Facebook will never spend more than your maximum. And no matter what your budget is set to, you can expect to see results, as your ad will only be shown to people likely to be interested based on the audience you choose during targeting, which another reason why audience targeting is very, very important. And last but not least, you need to choose how your ad will look. And kind of how we touched on earlier, based on your goal, the options will be different, but a couple of the most common options will be a single photo, a carousel of images that we also touched on earlier, and an ad in Facebook stories. But I wanted to list all of the options here, which are photo, video, story, messenger, carousel, slideshow. And just to reiterate, the formatting options available are based on the goal. So what goes into your ad? As you create your ad, you will need copy. So keeping this short and sweet, and of course, error-free, will give you the best chance for approval from Facebook. But you definitely want to give enough detail that viewers understand what you're advertising, but thinking of it in a catchy way or something that is just an easy read. You will also need some media, such as a photo or video, and I've attached some of the specs for you to take note of if you'd like. Also, this is going to be recorded, so you can always come back to this. With that, having the right size and format will give your ad the highest quality viewing experience, and I'm talking about images, so having the right size image is very important, because if it's too large, Facebook might crop it down, and if it's too small, it might be heavily pixelated. Last but not least, a call to action, and that is going to appear in that button format, which we discussed earlier. So essentially, the technical term for the button is your call to action, because it's what you're calling for the viewer to take action on. So make sure you're calling for the right action. As for image sourcing, here are a couple of programs and websites that we use. If you don't have any high quality original photos, there are a lot of free photos available. Personally, I really like Pexels. Otherwise, you can create with Canva, and I believe they have just launched a new video tool. And knowing Canva, it's going to be the most simple way to create a video if you're looking to use a video in your ad. I personally have a basic skill set on InDesign, but I will say that Canva is a lot easier and a lot more fun. So if you're looking for an interesting graphic, something that reflects your brand, I would definitely check out Canva. And then once again, Pexels, because a lot of stock photos can add to your budget, and Pexels are free.
And those images are very important. And Sophie had it bolded on her last slide, no overlay text. We did have a question about it as well. So Facebook does approve, at least most of the time with an automated system, sometimes not. They do have to approve all ads. And sometimes that can be challenging. So Lorraine asked, if they don't approve it immediately and it takes a few days, what happens? Let's say you schedule it for 5, but it takes them a couple of days to approve it. What does that look like once it's finally approved and running?
Your ad will not start the duration of its campaign until it is approved. So you're not losing money. It's just until it's approved, it won't be, nobody will see it. It won't be launched. So once it's approved, that's when your campaign starts.
And if they take too long to approve it, it'll never go past your stop date. You would just end up spending less and having it up for fewer days. They're not going to adjust your, let's say you wanted to spend 5 days with an end date. They're not going to adjust that on you because they failed to approve it. It would just end up only running for 3 days for um, a shorter time. So one thing that you can do in there is you can get them approved early. You can schedule them to start later. And that can help you sort of circumvent that Facebook approval process to make sure everything is approved and ready to go and launches exactly when you want it to.
It's a great question. So once you've launched your ad, you can check its performance by viewing insights. So to view your insights, you'll go back to the ad center and it should just be the first thing that you see and it will look just like the graphic that I attached. So I just want to quickly go over 3 of the most important insights to keep your eyes on. Reach details how many people saw your ad, whether they actually took the time to read it or scrolled right past. And then engagement is out of that number of reach, how many people clicked and interacted with your ad, whether that's likes, comments, or shares. And then link clicks, how many people clicked on your link and were taken to your landing page.
Yeah, so I've mentioned it throughout this webinar, and I think the last one too. If you do have specific questions, we do have a program at UNI. Please reach out. We'd be happy to look at, maybe help you build an audience or analyze your demographics or who you think you could reach or anything like that. For the initial consult, there's no cost, and there is actually some opportunities to engage with us for a fee where we could potentially help do some ad spends or do some posts and running. So we're definitely invested to be able to help you do that. So one question, Sophie, too, that we got early on about those insights. So if you want to flip back one real quick.
Okay.
As we saw it throughout, so as you're putting it together, Facebook gives you these estimates. Are there, this is just a straightforward way for me to ask it. Does Facebook guarantee that you're going to get those types of views, or is that just an estimate and you could end up with less?
It's really just dependent on the people. So that I'm not sure exactly how they estimate that, but say the highest that you could possibly reach is 2,000. If you don't have 2,000 people who match your targeted audience, you might not hit that. So it really is just dependent on who's online, who's available to see your advertisement.
Yeah, I think the point too with these insights. So when you get into it, you can look even deeper of who was it that saw it, not like specific people, but you can sort of see their demographics of, well, it was men between 45 and 60 in Iowa that looked at your ad or saw your post. So I think that's something to keep in mind as you're doing this, that there's not really necessarily guarantees for Facebook, but if you craft your advertising to really meet your market, that can definitely perform better than what they want. I also do think that if you hit the max that they estimate, it will stop there because that max is estimated upon how much you're spending. And so the only way to move that number higher is to spend more. So going viral and doing other viral things is a conversation for a different time. From a paid perspective, they will begin to bottleneck that as you're reaching your total estimate. So we'll flip a couple slides. So we do have 2 more of these coming up in November as we continue to focus on digital marketing. So we're going to be doing one. Sammy will be back to talk about blogging as a marketing tool for your website. And then Sophie will be back on November 17th to talk more Instagram and Instagram basics as we go from there. Sammy just posted the link in the chat to register. And so that is sort of the end of our formal presentation portion. We've got about 10 minutes left with our session today. So we're going to do our best to answer your questions. And then Sophie has got a quick walkthrough prepared for us to go through. So looking at the questions in here. So we do have, so how do you figure out what causes an ad to not be approved? Amy asked. So you will get a message. So Facebook will message you back and say, typically your ad is first going to be disapproved through their automated system. And it's basically an AI that looks at your image and makes sure there's no text, that your text is clean, not too long, your links are working. And it's going to send you back an automated message that is like, it's not approved for these couple, 3 reasons. You can resubmit it, and then you can appeal their automated disapproval. And so then that would actually send it in front of a person. And then that way you can get an answer back whether or not they've approved it. Does that pretty much cover that, Sophie?
Yeah, and I just want to add also, there's a really great tool that Facebook offers. It's the Facebook Business Help Center. So when I was troubleshooting in that slide for a boosted post that might not have been available for boosting, that was pulled straight from the Facebook Business Help Center. So they have a lot of resources to kind of give you a deeper dive into why your Facebook ad might not have been approved and what you can do to fix it. And a lot of times they'll give you examples, and you can match one of the reasons that they provide to maybe something that's very similar to your ad.
Yeah, they really just don't like text on images. Like that is like,
Well, I
why
feel
that
like in
is.
a way it's almost cheating the copy because they allow you a certain amount of copy. So I don't know if they think you're cheating the system, but yeah, they are not fond of overlaying text on images because also they can't just necessarily look to see that since it's not written in the copy. So it could say something that they don't allow.
Absolutely. So then we've got another question here. Can you just talk briefly about the difference between a boosted post and then directed ad real quick?
Yeah, so we touched on this a little bit earlier, but there's one main difference, and a boosted post is a piece of content that has already been created, and Facebook gives you an opportunity to go out and boost that out to your network for another time by using paid reach. And then the main distinction between that and a Facebook ad is that a Facebook ad is freshly created content. So you're creating the copy, you're adding a different image, and you're choosing an entirely different audience. Another thing I'd like to add to that is that the audience options are a little bit different, and so are the placement options. So the audience options, I believe, for boosting are you can choose a custom audience. It's kind of like a dumbed down version of the Facebook advertising audience options, but with boosting, you can target people who like your page, people who like your page and their friends, and then people who are in your location.
Yeah, so I think maybe the main difference, and then correct me if I'm wrong here, boosting is really trying to get it in front of your audience, people you already know. So like Sophie mentioned, it's people who like your page, who like it, and their friends or people who are close to you. Whereas advertising lets you really drill deeply into those people that you don't know and can get in front of new audiences. So I think that's, existing content, new content, that existing content is going to really reach out and touch your existing audience, and kind of go from there. So Sophie, why don't you go ahead and stop your share, and we'll go ahead, for the last 5 minutes, we're going to do a bit of a full walkthrough. And while we're doing that, Kelly did ask a question here, and this one we might have to look into, but can you put text on video, or does Facebook frown upon text on video options? That's a good question. I'm not sure I know the answer to that.
I don't think I know the answer to that either. But I do know that Canva, the tool that I mentioned for content creation, they do allow you to put text on your video. So that would be a great way if you want to include a video that has text overlaid. But now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like I have seen ads as of recently with text on the video as well as logos. So I can look into that and get back to you, but I can't quite give you the correct answer right now because I just don't know.
Yep, and I think we had a question from Stacy that Sammy may have answered too. But yeah, we'll definitely, if it's a new nonprofit or business, they definitely reach out, and let me know, and we can definitely talk through how we can help. So with our last few minutes here, for those of you who want to stick with us, we're going to do just a bit of a live walkthrough. So Sophie's going to share up our Facebook page. We did this a little bit at the end of the last session too. We're going to just sort of look at briefly the process of doing the ads, and maybe some of the analytics and anything that we've got time to look at.
Yeah. All right, let me pull it up. So here I am on our centers page. And to get to the ad center, you're going to go under the manage page, scroll down to ad center, go ahead and click. And since we have had no ads, we're not showing any engagements here, but this is where you would see your engagements. And this is where you would create an ad. So click on the create ad. And then it'll bring you right to where you can choose a goal. And then although boosting and ads are a little bit different, they're still under the same location. So if you want to boost a post, you can start here, boost an event, start there. So let's start with walking you through boosting a post.
Yeah, so when you go do that boost the post thing, it's going to show you your recent posts and things that you can boost.
And one thing that's really important is that you want to find a post that has performed really well. So click boost post and you can see the daily results here. So I'm just going to check to see if the other one would have higher results. So let's try this one. And was this the first one that I tried, Patrick? It seems like it's about the same.
Yeah, I think both the posts have actually had really similar engagement already, so that the assessment is going to be about the same.
Yeah. All right. So if you want to boost this post talked about a webinar, one of the webinars, today's webinar actually. And here's what we consider the button or the call to action. So what I really want to do is I want to encourage people to sign up for that. So I'm going to see if I can do sign up. And then here's a URL where you can take this exact URL and put it into the website URL box. So once somebody presses sign up, it's going to take them exactly to the sign up page. And that's one more thing is just that would be the landing page. And that's why it's so important to have the proper URL as your landing page so that once somebody clicks sign up, they're not misled to, you know, maybe an agenda of events. So here are some of the audience categories, like mentioned before. people you choose through targeting, you can click, people who like your page, people who like your page and their friends. And I'm guessing that this audience might not be as large, so they're going to tell us that we can't boost that because it's too narrow. And then here you'll see the duration, and the end date would be 5 days from now, November 1st. And here is your total budget. So you can scroll. Minimum budget is $1 per day, so we're not going to go any lower. You can scroll all the way up to $80 a day. And then placements are going to be Facebook Messenger and Instagram. You can deselect one of these, but we touched on it briefly, and we really just think it's the best to have that maximum reach. So I'm not going to click boost because that would actually launch the post. So now, Patrick, how do you feel about showing a Facebook ad?
Yeah, so thank you everyone who joined us today. We're at 11:01. We're gonna take like 3 or 4 more minutes to look at this Facebook ad piece. But if you're still here with us, we understand if you got to jump off and get back to your day and running your business. We're gonna uh, follow with everybody who asked questions. We're gonna make sure that everyone gets a copy of the recording and the slide deck. And so we appreciate you being here with us, and hopefully we see you back here in November for a couple of our other webinars. But yeah, Sophie, let's go ahead and look at that, the ad itself, and then we can wrap up for today.
So here's an ad that I created earlier today. So here is my copy. I tried to be as brief as possible, but still be descriptive. And then this is my photo that I selected. Button label, once again, sign up. And from what I believe, I can't quite remember what goal I used, but I think it was get more website visitors, because I really wanted to direct people to that webinar so that they would sign up. So yeah, same format. The audience is a little bit different here. So people you choose through targeting, you're going to edit here. And then there are just these very specific demographics of gender, age, and then here you have location. So that one was specifically to Cedar Falls. And then what I'd really like you all to do is detailed targeting, because that's how you're going to get the most bang for your buck, because you're really going to hone in on those customers that could be sent down your sales funnel and eventually turned into customers, hopefully, who would purchase your product or service. So once again, under demographics, I think there was a question that asked how you can search. You can search right here. So if something doesn't fit what you're looking for, you can always search up in this search bar. So then once again, we kind of went over these already, so I'll show you a couple more in the interests and behaviors, but let's see, shopping and fashion. Somebody might be interested in boutiques. If you're a boutique, that would be a great box to check, as well as behaviors. The lists just go on and on. So it takes a little bit of time to go through it, but I would really recommend looking through all your options, and then once you really understand who your customer is, you'll know exactly what's available.
So Sophie, will you go down to the duration?
Yes.
So if you run this ad continuously, can you click on that for me? Just so we can see what that does. So that's just gonna run in perpetuity and spend your daily amount, and kind of go through and do all that. I think, and we had a question too about setting a start date. That's going to be something that you do in Ads Manager, which is a whole other beast, which we're not going to dive into today.
So you essentially can set a start date, but the way this works is that the start date is whenever you create the ad. So
yeah, and so I think we had a question about it too. So you can do it, Lorraine. It's through a different, something we did attempt to avoid throughout of this as we're covering the basics. Inside, there's a whole other ads manager system to Facebook that will allow you to do other detailed building of ads and things like that to create ad sets and audiences, and which we could do another 2-hour webinar on just that. So if setting a start date is something that's really important, we can go over how we can put that together for you, and go that way.
And I also think that Ads Manager is geared more towards agencies who might manage 20 ads at once and maybe have a couple of different Facebook pages that they're managing. So starting off, I think that Ad Center is a great way to learn how to use advertising, master advertising, and then take the next step and go to Ads Manager.
Yep, and so then like in Ads Manager, you could stack ads to run back to back to back with different copy and things and start dates and end dates. For most of the simple ads that we focused on today, you're just going to want to do them as you're ready for that. So I think with that, that's a quick walkthrough. Thank you everyone again for joining us today. Sophie, magnificent job. Thank you for the time, effort, and energy you put into this. For everyone, Sammy, thank you for helping us out in the background and answering people's questions. Again, this webinar was brought to you by the Center for Business Growth and Innovation, the University of Northern Iowa, and Iowa SourceLink. We would love to see you again in November as we do some of our other webinars on blogging for your website and Instagram basics. And we've got this recorded, so you'll be getting a version of it if you want to go back and watch. And as always, if you have any questions, please reach out. We're here to help you as you work on your growing your small business here in Iowa. Thank you everybody for being here with us today, and we'll hopefully see you in the next one.